Welcome to the March-April 2017 issue of the BVA Bulletin, Volume 72, Number 2. Dale Stamper of Hayden, Idaho, serves as the current national president of the Blinded Veterans Association. Joe Parker of Pisgah Forest, North Carolina, is the national vice president. Paul Mims of Kansas City, Missouri, occupies the position of national secretary, and Joseph McNeil of Columbus, Georgia, is BVA's national treasurer. The district directors are as follows: Dennis O'Connell of Long Beach, New York, representing District 1, David Fox of Kettering, Ohio, the District 2 director, Vernon Richmond of Haw River, North Carolina, directing District 3. Genesee Amaro of Gilbert, Arizona, is the director from District 4, while Paul Kaminsky of Middleburg, Florida, represents District 5. Dr. Thomas Zampieri of Pearland, Texas, serves the BVA membership in District 6. Mark Cornell of San Antonio, Texas, is the association's immediate past national president. Additional appointed officers are Charles Brooks of Kissimmee, Florida, as national chaplain, Monica Gilmore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, as the national sergeant-at-arms, and two honorary board members, Joe Burns of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Dr. Donald Gagliano of National Harbor, Maryland. Blinded Veterans Association auxiliary officers are as follows: President Sandy Krasnodemsky of Allen Park, Michigan, Vice President Edna Kirksey Dixon of Bay Minette, Alabama, Secretary Benjamin Holmes of Midland, Georgia, and Treasurer Carl Heitinen of Seekonk, Massachusetts. Pam Hogan of Canyon Country, California, is the designated auxiliary reporter and the author of this issue's Auxiliaries View column. BVA's national headquarters staff members are Executive Director Al Avina, Administrative Director Bridget Jones, National Field Service Program Director Edward Eckroth, and Chief Financial Officer Kathy Rouet. The Director of Government Relations is Melanie Brunson. The National Field Service Training Coordinator is Wade Davis. Christina Hitchcock is the Manager of Projects and Conventions, while the Manager of Communications and BVA Bulletin Editor is Stuart Nelson. The Human Resource Specialist for the headquarters is Chrissy Spence Gilbert, and the Membership Coordinator is Cecilia Montenegro. BVA's full-time National Field Service Resource Center staff members are Wanda Grover, Richard Lane, Patrick Johnson, Hallie Smith, and Asiya Quadri. BVA National Headquarters is currently located at 125 Northwest Street, Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. Each full-time headquarters staff member can be reached by dialing 202-371-8880 or toll-free 1-800-669-7079, and by then following prompts that connect the caller to the correct department and individual. Email communication will be forwarded to the appropriate recipient when sent through BVA's general email address, bva@bva.org. The organization's combined federal campaign number remains 10513. The BVA Bulletin is published bi-monthly by and for all blinded veterans. There is no charge to receive the print version of the publication, which is available upon request of the national headquarters to any interested individual or organization. Requests for multiple copies will be honored whenever possible. An audio compact disc version is mailed to annual and life members upon specific request. Contents of this issue of the Bulletin are represented by the following major headings: Legislative Update by Melanie Brunson, President's Page by Dale Stamper, Blind Hockey Weekend Brings Energy, Inspiration by Stuart Nelson, The New Coast Beckons BVA Faithful, Triumph of Spirit, Then Marathon 2 by Aaron Hale, Around BVA, Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan, Happenings in District 1 by Dennis O'Connell, From the Field Staff by Ed Eckroth, In Remembrance, and the customary final thought. The cover of the March-April issue of the Bulletin reveals a color photo of an ice hockey face-off. Two players, one in a red and white uniform and the other in a gold and black one, stand ready for what appears to be a forthcoming puck drop. Two other players are visible in the background, one from each team. The spectator stands and a few individuals are seen faintly in the background. Below the photo, in large white letters against a blue background, is the following uppercase text: A New Passion for Blind Hockey. A more complete photo caption on the following page further describes the photo thus: A recent BVA sports initiative caught a few eyes in February as veterans and other blind hockey enthusiasts came together in Washington, D.C. for the organization's first annual Blind Hockey Weekend. Participants came from various parts of the country to enjoy 3 days of instruction, camaraderie, and confidence building. Details about the weekend, including its roots in the form of a generous grant from the Department of Veterans Affairs, highlight this issue of the Bulletin. Legislative update by Melanie Brunson. The regular thumbnail head and shoulders color photo of Melanie accompanies her column as always. She is depicted in the photo with dark glasses and a serious look. There is no accompanying caption. The legislative update begins. Annual hearing on Capitol Hill. The pace of legislative activity has picked up considerably since our last report. On March 22nd, the BVA National President Dale Stamper testified at a joint hearing of the House and Senate Veterans Affairs Committees. He was allotted 5 minutes to speak, and his statement covered 3 issues. The need for the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, to address the lack of accessibility of its websites and other written communications, the need for VA to adopt technology that gives blinded veterans access to safety warnings and other information about prescription medications they receive from VA pharmacies, and a request for support of continued funding for the Department of Defense, DoD, Vision Research Program. Testimony recommendations. In addition to Dale's oral remarks, BVA submitted a written statement containing detailed information about our legislative priorities and concerns. This statement included a series of recommendations for congressional action. Here is the complete list of the recommendations. BVA requests that the 115th Congress conduct an oversight hearing on VA lack of compliance with Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act throughout the Veterans Health Administration, VHA, and Veterans Benefits Administration, VBA, information technology programs, and that Congress require that VA set timelines, funding levels, and staffing goals for addressing areas of noncompliance. BVA recommends that the Veterans Affairs Committees urge VA to develop policies and practices that enable VA's agencies to identify the veterans and VA employees who need access to materials and correspondence in formats other than print by virtue of disabilities, and to ensure that they have the capacity to communicate with such individuals in appropriate, accessible formats. BVA requests an increase in appropriations to support funding for purchase of new equipment needed to provide blind patients with access to updated prescription drug labels in all VA hospitals and outpatient facilities whose pharmacies provide labels for script talk units to blind and visually impaired patients. BVA requests that members of the Veterans Affairs Committees express their support to appropriators for funding of the DoD Vision Research Program within the congressionally directed medical research program at $15 million in fiscal year 2017. BVA requests oversight of the full establishment of the Vision Center of Excellence and the Defense Veterans Eye Injury Registry on resources, program management, and funding. The association similarly requests oversight of the Hearing Center of Excellence. BVA requests congressional support for VA's adherence to high standards in the recruitment of employees and contractors who provide rehabilitation training to blinded veterans and urges Congress to ensure that VA continue requiring certification by recognized accrediting bodies. BVA urges Congress to pass legislation providing for research and treatment of vision-related conditions that continue to plague Vietnam-era veterans exposed to toxic substances during their service, and further requests support for a VA study of the link between Agent Orange and choroidal melanoma eye cancer. Congress must repeal the inequitable requirement that the amount of an annuity under the Survivor Benefit Plan be reduced on account of and by an amount equal to the amount received by a veteran under dependency and indemnity compensation. BVA Legislative Committee meets with key members, staff. This subsection of the legislative update includes a photo of 10 persons standing together side by side. Most of the individuals are blinded veterans, 5 of whom are wearing service caps and 4 of whom have guide dogs. Judging by the furnishings, which consist of a large cushioned chair and a chessboard on a display table, the room appears to be a large office. A picture hangs on the wall behind the group. The caption states, "Left to right at presentation of Legislative Champion Award March 21st to Senator John Tester, Tom Zampieri, Chelsea Dumont, Paul Mims with Guide Dog Brooklyn, Joe Parker with Josie, Joe McNeil, Al Avina with Katie, Dale Stamper with Venture, Senator Tester, Melanie Brunson with Sparta, and Mark Cornell. The subsection reads as follows. Prior to the aforementioned hearing, the BVA Legislative Committee, in town for the Board of Directors' spring meetings, visited the offices of both Chairman Phil Rowe, Republican, Tennessee District 1, and Ranking Member Tim Waltz, Democrat, Minnesota District 1, of the House Committee. We also visited with a number of other members of Congress and their staffs on the committee. Their initial responses to BVA's recommendations were positive. Although it is too early to tell what will come of these meetings, we are hopeful that the committees will take action on at least some of the issues of concern to blinded veterans. On March 21st, BVA's national officers presented awards to 2 legislators who were instrumental in the approval of a BVA legislative priority passed by both houses of Congress and signed into law by the President last year. Dale recognized and thanked Senator John Tester, Democrat, Montana, who sponsored S-171, and Congresswoman Julia Brownlee, Democrat, California, District 26, who sponsored H.R. 288, for the assistance they provided in getting the bills passed. The plaques presented express appreciation for their invaluable support. They also include a BVA seal and the words to the Pledge of Allegiance in print and braille. Pending legislation relevant to blinded veterans and families. In early March, the House of Representatives passed 3 significant bills relating to veterans and VA. H.R. 1367, which would expand VA's authority to recruit, hire, and promote highly qualified employees, passed the House by a margin of 412 to 0. H.R. 1259, which would allow VA to use an expedited process to fire, demote, or suspend employees who perform their jobs poorly, passed the House by a vote of 237 to 178. The third bill, H.R. 1181, limits the circumstances under which veterans with mental disabilities can be deemed automatically ineligible to purchase firearms. H.R. 1181 passed by a vote of 240 to 175. A long list of additional bills awaits congressional action. This list continues to grow as additional veteran legislation is introduced each week. We will update you as Congress and President Trump take further action on any of the pending bills or issues of concern. Begin receiving periodic updates. If you're interested in obtaining legislative information during the 2 months between each bulletin issue, please consider subscribing to our Legislative Updates email list. We try to send out detailed legislative reports at least once each month. We do it more frequently when necessary so that our members can remain abreast of time-sensitive information. To join this email list, send a message to M. Brunson, that's MBRUNSON, at bva.org, and include the words Legislative Email List in the subject line. Please feel free to also use the aforementioned address to contact me with any additional questions you may have about our legislative and advocacy activities. We understand also that some of our BVA members become involved in state and local legislative issues that affect blind and visually impaired veterans in their communities. Whenever appropriate, please feel free to share valuable or interesting information, experiences, and perspectives from which we can learn more about these issues. President's Page by Dale Stamper. 2 photos constitute a significant part of this issue's President's Page. One is the usual thumbnail head and shoulders photo of a smiling Dale dressed in a light-colored shirt and tie. The other photo is a side view of him shaking hands across the table with a gentleman who is leaning over the table to do so. Both are dressed in suits and ties. In the immediate background are several other formally dressed men. The caption describing the photo states the following. House Committee on Veterans Affairs Chairman Phil Rowe welcomes Dale Stamper to witness table prior to the hearing in which Dale presented BVA's legislative priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. The body of the President's Page begins. Every year, the National President of the Blinded Veterans Association has an opportunity to present the legislative concerns and priorities of the organization before a joint session of the House and Senate VA committees. Several other veterans service organizations regularly join us on a panel, each seated side by side at a long table. This year, on March 22nd, the entire BVA National Board was also in attendance. This arrangement had not been possible for 3 years because of scheduling conflicts. The BVA Legislative Committee is made up of the 4 national officers, President Dale Stamper, Vice President Joe Parker, Secretary Paul Mims, and Treasurer Joe McNeil, along with past President Mark Cornell, District 5 Director Thomas Sampieri, and Director of Government Relations Melanie Brunson. Together, the committee spent an entire day, March 20th, at VA Central Office discussing BVA concerns with heads of departments. The next day, we met with members of the House of Representatives, Senate, and staff members. This is a special time and complements the work Melanie regularly performs as she meets with these same individuals. Because of these efforts over the past several years, we were able to get legislation passed that will make it easier for veterans to attend a blind rehabilitation center. Our request was for travel funds for the catastrophically disabled, especially for blinded veterans with low incomes living in rural areas. We are thankful to Montana Senator John Tester and California Congresswoman Julia Brownley for their sponsorship in the Senate and House, respectively. We will continue to advocate for BVA on vital issues before the House, Senate, and VA Central Office. BVA was chartered by Congress specifically to represent our nation's blinded veterans. It is a great honor to testify and present our priorities. This privilege is especially significant when there are so many voices vying for the attention on Capitol Hill, both from the private sector as well as from organizations like ours. I am thankful for the great responses and reception we received. Following both the testimony and our one-on-one discussions, I believe our concerns were heard. I also believe that in the days and weeks ahead, commitments to follow up on our priorities will be honored and faithfully kept. Blind Hockey Weekend brings energy, inspiration, by Stuart Nelson. 3 photos enhance this report on BVA's Blind Hockey Weekend. The first of the 3 reveals a side view of 2 individuals in full hockey garb, posing with hockey sticks in hand. They appear to be in ready stance, prepared for a hockey puck to be dropped in a face-off. Behind them is a tall gentleman with a puck in his left hand. The gentleman with the puck is smiling broadly. The caption describes the photo with the following: Blinded veteran Jim Sadecki, right, teamed up with New York Nightshade's Christine Van Turini for ceremonial puck drop for the championship match between the Washington Wheelers and Pittsburgh area team. White House counsel Donald F. McGahn, Middle, attended the event and dropped the puck. Participants in the weekend event personally signed a souvenir blind hockey puck for McGahn at the Saturday banquet. A second photo reveals a younger-looking man wearing a sweatshirt with the United States Navy logo imprinted on the front. His left hand is grasping the end of a hockey stick, although such is not obvious since the bottom of the stick is not visible. In the background is a series of plaques, 3 balloons, and a window from which an ice skating rink is visible. The caption states, attending Try-It sessions as a beginner last November at the urging of his wife Tahara, visually impaired veteran Jocks Baloney has developed new self-confidence after learning to ice skate. Jocks had never played competitive sports before giving blind hockey a try. A third and final photo depicts 2 smiling ladies standing together side by side. The temperature appears to be cold since both are wearing coats and hats. The young lady on the left appears to have a scarf around her neck as well. The background is dark. The caption reads, at right, Doris Jones, Mid-Atlantic Regional Group, pauses for some hot chocolate and a photo during blind hockey try-it session at District of Columbia's Fort DuPont Ice Arena. At left, Amy Porter, wife of blind hockey program director Bruce Porter. The article in its entirety is as follows. For a handful of blinded veterans and 33 additional blind and visually impaired athletes, Super Bowl weekend in the Washington, D.C. area played second fiddle to the 3 days of training, competition, educational activities, and enjoyable camaraderie they experienced at the first annual Blind Hockey Weekend sponsored by BVA. The unique February event, part of a wider hockey initiative unveiled by the association in early November, was made possible through a grant awarded to BVA by the VA Office of Adapted Sports Programs for Disabled Veterans and Disabled Members of the Armed Forces. Quote, this has been one of the most exciting experiences of my life, said Program Director Bruce Porter at the Saturday Evening Awards and Recognition Banquet, as he began presenting certificates to each participant. It is an honor and inspiration to associate with all of you and to serve as a witness to your courage, ambition, and determination. End quote. The weekend began with the arrival of participants at the Hilton Arlington Hotel in Northern Virginia from as far away as Connecticut to the north and Southern California to the south and west. Shortly after registration, the group departed with volunteers and instructors for the Fort DuPont Ice Arena in southeast Washington for a 90-minute dedicated practice. Despite all my recent sports activities, including all I did at last year's VA Winter Sports Clinic, I definitely exercised muscles and parts of my body today that I haven't used in a while, said Mid-Atlantic Regional Group member Michonne Harrison, who traveled to the area from Fredericksburg, Virginia, with fellow group member and Richmond area resident Doris Jones. It was fun to put on some ice skates and give this a try. The overriding purpose and focus of BVA's program and the VA grant is to provide enjoyment and recreational rehabilitation opportunities to veterans such as Ms. Shawn and Doris who may have never tried the sport or even donned a pair of ice skates. Saturday activities included a morning outdoor public skating opportunity at Sculpture Garden Ice Rink in Washington, D.C., an optional tour of the National Gallery of Art, and other guided tours. Air Force OEF era-blinded veteran Jim Sadecki of Burlington, Connecticut, took his son and sighted guide Carson, 16, to Arlington National Cemetery for the first time. The early evening banquet was followed by a practice session at the adjacent Kettler Capitals Iceplex facility and a culminating Showcase Championship two-period match featuring the Washington Wheelers, participants in the weekend program, and BVA's long-term initiative against a similar team and initiative from the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center and the Mario Lemieux Sports Complex Pittsburgh Penguins Foundation. White House counsel Donald F. McGahn performed a ceremonial opening puck drop for the championship match, which ended 4-4 in regulation. The score remained in a 4-4 draw after a 5-minute overtime period. Participants then woke up to an early dedicated practice at the Iceplex Sunday morning, followed by additional opportunities to sightsee and skate at Sculpture Garden. I am overwhelmed by how the weekend went and so proud of everyone who supported the event in any way, said Bruce. The challenges along the way were offset by how much joy and exhilaration we all felt at different times during the activities." End quote. The larger VA-supported BVA blind hockey program continues to seek interested athletes in the Washington, D.C. area to participate in weekly tryout sessions at the Kettler facility within the Ballston Commons Mall, which is a 2-block walk from the Ballston Metro Rail station. The Sunday morning sessions typically begin at 8:40 a.m. Despite never before having put on ice skates or participated in an organized sport, OEF blinded veteran Jacques Belloni found out about blind hockey at VA and from the outset of the tryout sessions began attending them with the blessing and encouragement of his wife, Tahara DeMayo. She told me that I needed to give it a try and that maybe I'd surprise myself, he said. The instruction I'd received from Bruce and the other coaches has been just amazing, and now I feel totally comfortable on the ice. Jacques believes it is only a matter of time before he can feel the same confidence in competitive hockey. I just need to learn how to coordinate my feet and hockey stick movement with where the puck is and with the overall flow of the game." End quote. The tryout sessions mean more than one-time attendance. The program takes players who have never skated before and introduces them to the basics of skating, equips them with gear, and safely trains them to go as far as they wish to go in hockey, which is considered the only adaptive winter team sport. "We are excited about moving blind ice hockey forward to take a more prominent place among popular activities for those with vision loss, especially veterans," said Bruce. Although many are surprised to hear blind and ice hockey in the same sentence, blind hockey has been played in Canada for nearly 40 years. End quote. Although the rules for blind hockey are similar to the sighted game, an enlarged, slower-moving puck with loud ball bearings is used. In tournament play, all athletes must be at least legally blind, with the lowest vision athletes playing defense or goalie. Athletes are grouped by sight level and can have only a set amount of sight among all of the players on the ice at the same time. Adaptations for the blind and visually impaired within the sport include full protective gear, including face mask. The game is played with International Ice Hockey Federation safety protocols, including no-touch icing and crease violations to ensure utmost player safety. Blind hockey also requires goals to be scored in the bottom 3 feet of the net, as it is unfair to the goalie to score in the top portion. The adapted puck does not make noise in the air. Teams must complete one pass prior to being able to score in the attacking half of the rink. This provides both the low-vision defense and the goalie an extra opportunity to track the puck. Bruce said that because hockey is considered the fastest, most aggressive game in the world, those who take up the sport usually develop increased mobility and balance almost immediately. BVA is involved in helping our blinded veterans and to help blind associations introduce the sport to their athletes, with the hope that blind hockey will be added to sports programs for the blind and visually impaired, he added. My role is to organize the try-it sessions and coordinate ice time, coaching, media, and equipment. End quote. Bruce is confident that the interest generated in the initiative will eventually spread to blind and visually impaired veterans throughout the country. Most of our players thus far are very enthusiastic, and blind hockey is great cross-training for all sports, he said. This is a unique and amazing opportunity that could well lead some athletes to the Winter Paralympic Games in the future. End quote. For an introduction to the excitement of blind ice hockey and the enthusiasm of those who play the sport, visit https://www.youtube.com/watch?v uppercase Z, lowercase SOVPU, uppercase J, 7, uppercase S, uppercase M, lowercase c. The new coast beckons BVA faithful. Formal official notice. Within the text of the formal official notice is a photo of a fountain on which large sculptures of lions are mounted. At least they appear to be lions. In the background, a couple of small shops are visible. 3 parked cars can be seen in front of the shops. The photo caption says, "The historic neighborhood of San Marcos Square features fine dining, upscale clothing boutiques, and outstanding art galleries. Nearby Riverfront Park offers city views, especially during the sunset." Also located in the square is Theater Jacksonville, the oldest community theater in the country, dating back to 1938. Photo courtesy of Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The formal official notice is stated as follows. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 3B of Article 9, National Convention, of the BVA National Bylaws, all members of the Blinded Veterans Association in good standing are hereby notified that the BVA 72nd National Convention will be held at the Hyatt Regency Jacksonville, 225 East Coastline Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32202, from Monday, August 14th through Friday, August 18th, 2017. Periodic updates regarding the convention will be posted regularly to the convention page on the BVA website. BVA National Headquarters will host the 72nd National Convention. BVA members in good standing who wish to vote by proxy may request a special proxy form by writing or calling the Administrative Director at BVA National Headquarters no later than 45 days before the opening day of the 72nd National Convention. Because the convention's opening day is August 14th, the deadline for requesting a proxy form is June 30th, 2017. In compliance with Section 2C of Article 9, the proxy form must be completed and returned to BVA National Headquarters, attention Administrative Director. To be considered valid, the envelope containing the form must be postmarked no later than 21 days before the opening date of the convention. The due date is therefore July 24th, 2017. Preparing to arrive in Jacksonville. The planning for the BVA 72nd National Convention is well underway, and we hope to see you August 14 to 18 at the Hyatt Regency Jacksonville Riverfront. Make certain that you contact the hotel and use the code BVA1 to reserve your hotel room. Registration for the convention will be available on May 5th. If you would like to have a copy of the registration sent to you as soon as it becomes available, please contact BVA National Headquarters. Registrations can be sent electronically via email or hard copy. Proposals are currently being received for the 2017 education sessions to be held August 14th and 15th. Successful 2016 sessions led by blinded veterans included Windows 10 training by Phil Ferris of the Washington Regional Group, and one entitled Paratransit, led by Jim Hogan of the Southern California Regional Group. Past National President Dr. Bob Smith III of the Minnesota Regional Group also addressed a session teaching individuals how they can become involved in legislative issues in their local communities. If you or someone you know is interested in sharing their knowledge with blinded veterans, or if you would like to see any of the education sessions from 2016 repeated in Jacksonville, please contact Christina Hitchcock at chhitchcock, that's CHITCHCOCK, at BVA.org. Suggested topics for 2017 currently include how to prepare for a disaster, Victor Reader Stream training, BVA national legislation, and a session geared toward veteran-owned small businesses. Advertisements for the 2017 BVA Convention Program booklet, provided to every attendee, are now being accepted. Regional groups, other veterans organizations, and organizations of and for the blind are encouraged to share a personalized message with their fellow blinded veterans through a short ad. Program ads are a great way to show your support and encouragement for all those attending the convention. Regional groups will receive a special discounted rate on all full-page ads for the booklet. In addition to the print version, we intend to offer the program booklet in an electronic format with Voice-i so that it can be emailed or downloaded from the website for use after the convention. When producing your advertisement, please keep in mind that the font size of the text will need to be 14-point or higher with a half-inch margin around the page. Please send all advertisements electronically to Christina or Chelsea Dumond, CDUMOND, at BVA.org. You may also elect to have your ad created on your behalf by BVA National Headquarters for an additional fee. For a full list of advertising and sponsorship opportunities, visit the BVA website or contact Christina or Chelsea to receive information via regular postal mail. All advertisements are due by June 14, 2017, and should be paid for in the form of a check made out to BVA 72nd National Convention. Wayfinding at Hyatt Regency. Courtesy of Macular Degeneration Support, better known as simply MD Support, indoor wayfinding technology can provide assistance to attendees of the BVA 72nd National Convention. All that is necessary is an iPhone or iPad with the downloaded app Low Viz Guide, which enables users to navigate indoors around large meeting spaces and to always take the shortest routes. Low Viz facilitates orientation and safety, eliminating frustration with unfamiliar venues. Meeting room 15 is to your right, 30 feet, or men's restroom is behind you, 55 feet, are the types of instructions users of Low Viz Guide will hear at the convention. The user is guided by a combination of positioning algorithms and Bluetooth low-energy beacons. Routing by voice is possible through the use of the smart device's accessibility feature. Wayfinding technology is being installed permanently in malls, museums, airports, and subways, but Low Viz Guide is the first and only system custom-made for installation at conferences and seminars. MD Support will be available to provide technical assistance at the convention, but attendee advanced preparation will make using the Low Viz Guide faster and easier. For important information, visit www.mdsupport.org/audio guide. The page includes a direct download to the App Store, instructions for use, frequently asked questions, an audio-visual demonstration of the app, and articles and audio broadcasts about Low Viz Guide. MD Support is a worldwide nonprofit public service organization founded by retired educator Dan Roberts, who is visually impaired. Its mission since 1995 has been to provide information and support for people who are affected by macular degeneration and similar retinal diseases. Most of the organization's volunteers are also visually impaired. Their work is supported and guided by a 17-member advisory board made up of leading professionals in the field. Significant deadlines and other dates. A large half-page photo accompanies the list of the upcoming convention's significant dates and deadlines. There are no persons visible in this photo with the exception of a side view of an unknown woman walking in front of a wide building that is identified in large lettering as the Museum of Contemporary Art of Jacksonville. Judging by the shadows, the photo was taken on a clear, sunny day. In the left portion of the photo is a tall work of art that consists of spires in various shapes and sizes. Some of the spires appear to be made of stainless steel, while others look more like concrete. One spire points upward while the others curl at different points. Further information is provided in the caption as follows. The Museum of Contemporary Art, founded in 1924 and located in downtown Jacksonville, is one of the largest contemporary art institutions in the southeastern United States. It is funded and operated as a cultural resource of the University of North Florida. Photo courtesy of Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches. The content of this section outlining important dates begins with the following. Complying with articles within the BVA National Bylaws, Administrative Director Bridget Jones distributed notices in January regarding nominations for Certificates of Appreciation, the Moss and Diener Awards, and the David L. Schneier Volunteer Service Award. She also mailed a reminder to regional group presidents and secretaries on March 20th regarding the due date for submission of bylaw amendments for consideration at the convention. There was a prior mailing on March 17th to all BVA members in good standing and residing in Districts 5 and 6, 150 days leading up to August 14th, that called for nominations for District Director. 1. April 21st, asterisk. Mail credentials forms to regional group presidents, vice presidents, secretaries, and treasurers, 3 copies each, Article 14, Section 12C. 2. April 21st, asterisk. Nominations for BVA Certificates of Appreciation, the Melvin J. Moss and Irving Diener Awards, and the David L. Schneier Service Award all due at national headquarters. 3. May 5th, no earlier than 100 days before convention. Earliest date to mail pre-registration package and official convention notice to potential attendees. Actual 100-day mark before the convention is May 6th, which is a Saturday this year, requiring a May 5th mailing. 4. Mid-May, asterisk. 72nd National Convention pre-registration package prepared and sent to printer. 5. Mid-May, asterisk. 72nd National Convention proxy forms mailed, but only by request, to National Headquarters Administrative Director. 6. May 17th, asterisk, no earlier than 90 days before convention, earliest date to distribute ballots to Districts 5 and 6, Article 6, Section 3D. 7. May 17th, no later than 90 days before convention. Envelopes containing proposed bylaw amendments must be directed to National Headquarters and postmarked, Article 19, Section 1B. 8. May 17th, no earlier than 90 days before convention. Earliest date to mail proposed bylaw amendments to members in good standing, Article 19, Section 1B. 9. May 17th, 90 days before convention, and 60 days following original mail call referred to above. Nominations for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6. 10. June 1st, no later than 75 days before convention, latest date to mail pre-registration official convention notice. 11. June 6th, no later than 70 days before convention, latest date for national headquarters to mail ballots for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6, Article 6, Section 3D. 12. June 15th, asterisk. National headquarters mails annual financial report forms, 3 copies, to treasurers of regional groups. 13. June 30th, no later than 45 days before convention, ballots for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6 due at national headquarters. 14. June 30th, no later than 45 days before convention, latest date to mail proposed bylaw amendments to members in good standing. 15. July 6th, no later than 40 days before convention, regional group meeting notices to elect convention delegates must be mailed to group members. A copy of the notice must also be mailed to national headquarters at the same time it is mailed to the group membership. 16. July 11th, 35 days before convention, national headquarters counts election ballots for regular elections of directors of Districts 5 and 6. 17. July 24th, 21 days before convention, completed delegate credentials forms and proxy forms must be postmarked no later than midnight. Good standing requirements. Article 14 of the BVA National Bylaws outlines the criteria by which regional groups are deemed in good standing for national conventions. Groups must accordingly accomplish the following. 1. Meet at least once during the BVA fiscal year July 1st to June 30 and submit a copy of the minutes to national headquarters within 60 days of such meetings. Section 13A. 2. Submit an annual financial statement to the Administrative Director on forms provided for that purpose no later than September 30th, 3 months following the end of fiscal year 2017. Regional group officers should review the status of their groups to ensure that the aforementioned requirements have been met. Doing so will ensure that all BVA delegations are appropriately seated at the convention. Delegates, alternates, credentials forms. Article 14 of the BVA National Bylaws specifies that all regional groups intending to send a delegate to Jacksonville must also hold a meeting to elect and instruct the individual. Groups must inform all of their members in good standing, in writing, of the date, time, location, and purpose of the meeting no later than July 6, 2017. Notice of the meeting must be distributed to the regional group members no fewer than 10 days prior to the regional group meeting. A copy of the notice must be forwarded to BVA National Headquarters at the same time the notice is distributed to the members. Failure to do so will render the group's delegation unable to receive seating at the convention. A set of official BVA credentials forms was mailed in triplicate on orange-colored paper to all regional group officers on April 21st. The credentials must also be completed in triplicate, which includes a signature and dating of the signature by both the regional group president and regional group secretary. One copy should be provided to the elected delegate. A second copy must be mailed to BVA National Headquarters and postmarked no later than July 24, 2017. A third copy should be placed in the regional group files. Regional groups must also elect alternate delegates to the National Convention at the same meeting. In addition, each regional group to be represented should elect a representative to the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee. The representative's name should be placed in the appropriate blank at the bottom of the second page of the credentials form. Triumph of Spirit, then Marathon 2 by Aaron Hale. Physical fitness and staying active have always been a big part of my life. Growing up and then into adulthood, I was always happiest when I was outdoors. Whether playing backyard football in the snow with my buddies or rock climbing the sandstone ledges just miles from my home, I found joy in getting out and really exerting myself. When an improvised explosive device took my eyes in 2011, the thought that I may never again be able to get out, stretch my legs, or enjoy sports as I once did were among my first and biggest fears. I soon learned, however, that there are many ways to adapt to my new life. I just had to learn how. With patience and perseverance, I began to fight back against the darkness that had invaded my life. Very soon I was climbing mountains, kayaking whitewater, and running every day. I tell people that one of the most difficult things about running blind is that I have to find a guide with sight to run with, but I also tell them that one of the best parts of running blind is that I get a running partner each time I do. One of the most difficult aspects of running quickly turns into one of the most rewarding, as blindness makes running literally a team sport. As I proceeded with my running training, I would want to go farther and faster each time my guide and I would step out. Soon I was ready for marathons, and 2 years after my first step on the hardtop, I qualified for the 2015 Boston Marathon. On the day of the 2015 Boston Marathon, it was 40 degrees, rainy, and overall miserable. A truly great day for a run. That day was the pinnacle for me. I had reached the Super Bowl of running and could conquer the world. Unfortunately, just a few months later, I was taken off my feet once again. This time, bacterial meningitis invaded my sinuses and destroyed what was left of my hearing and stole my sense of balance. It has been a long, tough road back to health. After tons of antibiotics, surgeries to restore even a little hearing, countless smiles gripping my treadmill's stability bar to regain my balance and fitness, and my amazing family by my side the whole way, I managed to re-qualify for Boston. The marathon is an annual event, always held on Patriots' Day, the third Monday of April. Begun in 1897 with 18 participants, compared with the 30,251 with whom I competed in 2015, the Boston Marathon is the world's oldest marathon. The push-rim wheelchair division is more well-known than the blind visually impaired division and the mobility impaired program, which have recently gained in popularity. Similar to the running divisions, a set of qualifying times has been developed for these divisions in order to motivate aspiring athletes and ensure competitive excellence. It was a triumph of spirit to make it across the finish line the first time. Now I am on a mission to show my 6-year-old son, Cameron, as well as myself, that we are only defeated if we quit. Around BVA, prestigious Ranger Brigade inducts Danny Wallace. First Sergeant Danny Wallace, retired, past National Sergeant-at-Arms, and a recent catalyst for activities of the BVA Operation Peer Support Committee, has been accepted and inducted as a distinguished member of the Army Ranger Training Brigade, ARTB, for his exceptionally meritorious service as a Ranger instructor in the brigade as he worked with his fellow blinded veterans the past 2 years. Danny is responsible for the training of 9 BVA members of all ages at Camp Frank D. Merrill Military Base in Dahlonega, Georgia. His official induction occurred on April 6th at Fort Benning. The induction of distinguished members of the Ranger Training Brigade began in October 2000 to fully recognize the contributions of the brigade's most renowned and influential members. Inductees are nominated by an active duty member of the brigade, but they must first have served in the Ranger Training Command, the Ranger Department, the Ranger Training Brigade, or have contributed significantly to the promotion of Ranger training in ways that stand out in the eyes of all Rangers, past and present. First Sergeant Wallace's leadership and expertise as a Ranger instructor was key in the development of Ranger leaders and will have lasting effects for years to come, the citation stated. His work with the Blinded Veterans Association has been critical in the support and recovery of wounded veterans from all services, and his dedication to Rangers and America's wounded warriors is in keeping with the finest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon him, the Airborne and Ranger Training Brigade, the United States Maneuver Center of Excellence, and the United States Army." End quote. Ranger training at Fort Benning began in September 1950 during the Korean War with the formation and training of 17 airborne Ranger companies by the Ranger Training Command. In October 1951, the commandant of the U.S. Army Infantry School established the Ranger Training Department and extended Ranger training to all combat units in the Army. The first class for individual candidates graduated in March 1952. Lonnie Bedwell Initiative scores among Hoosiers. A photo, courtesy of the Greene County Daily World in Indiana, accompanies this Around BVA entry. The photo, another side view, shows a gentleman with dark glasses holding a rifle. He appears to be wearing headphones as well. A second gentleman is seen standing to his side in the background, perhaps instructing or orienting him. The caption reads, "Among BVA's first Operation Peer Support participants, Travis Fugate, Kentuckiana Regional Group, participated in Lonnie Bedwell's Heroes New Hope Foundation deer hunting trip for disabled veterans last fall. Pictured here, Travis tries out innovative special scope using his iPhone during target practice." The write-up begins. Sports and adventure enthusiast Lonnie Bedwell, a member of BVA's Operation Peer Support Committee and the Indiana Regional Group, known for seemingly impossible feats on kayaks, rock climbing expeditions, and downhill skiing events, has done it again with a deer hunting trip in southern Indiana for disabled veterans. The 5-day event began on Veterans Day last November. The following is an account of the trip, reprinted by permission of the Greene County Daily World of Linton, Indiana. The story was published on November 11, 2016. Heroes New Hope hosts Blind Hunting by Kelly Slavin. The Heroes New Hope Foundation organized an all-inclusive deer hunting trip for disabled veterans from Friday, November 11th until Tuesday, November 15th. The foundation started a few years ago, according to its official website, to, quote, "help the public remember that limitations are merely goals to surpass, and to enable wounded or injured veterans to overcome perceived limitations and to allow for therapeutic healing of one's inner self through hunting, fishing, and other outdoor activities." End quote. Lonnie Bedwell of Duggar, Indiana, started the program with the help of others in southern Indiana to start raising money to take veterans hunting and fishing. Heroes New Hope Foundation now hosts multiple annual events such as blind turkey hunting, golf outings, and fishing trips. The group met at Goose Pond Lodge and Retreat in Linton on Friday evening to practice and have dinner together before hunting over the weekend, appropriately beginning the trip on Veterans Day. Bedwell, who is a Navy veteran and 2014-2015 National Geographic Adventurer of the Year, was injured in a hunting accident that took his sight instantly. He was joined by 3 other disabled veterans and a student from Sullivan County, who will soon be losing her eyesight completely, as the foundation pledges to also, quote, provide the same opportunities to children of the fallen or injured, and to children with physical or emotional conditions who would benefit from similar activities, end quote. With vision impairments present in the group, normal hunting procedures had to be adjusted. Scott Goodman, one of the event's organizers, said Vortex Optics donated 12 special scopes to the foundation for use on the trip. The scopes are equipped with an attachment for a smartphone, and as the smartphone magnifies what the scope sees, a guide standing behind the hunter is then able to view the smartphone screen to help guide the hunter to accurately take a shot. Although some of the veterans had used the special scopes with the help of a guide before, a few were using the technology for the first time. Goodman said the scopes are the only method blind hunters can really use, and that is why the student from Sullivan County wanted to learn to hunt with a special scope before losing her eyesight completely, as he said she enjoys hunting. The group of veterans had been wounded in combat and joined Bedwell traveling out of state, with some coming from as far as Utah and others from Illinois. A hunting blind turkey hunting event is scheduled for late April. Stamina on display at Bataan Memorial March. 2 photos provide a more complete glimpse into the experience of those participating in the Bataan Memorial March. The photos have been placed side by side on the lower third of the page. The first photo is a group shot of 6 gentlemen and a lady at the far right. All of the men are dressed in long pants and T-shirts. The lady is wearing shorts, but she appears to have shin pads fastened on her legs. 2 of the men appear to be holding a pair of walking sticks, while a third man has only one. The other men are not holding any sticks at all. A tall mountain range is visible in the not-too-distant background, and the caption reads, BVA team of Bataan Memorial Marchers lines up prior to beginning of the 26.2-mile journey. Left to right, Steve Baskus, Kevin Baskus, Nate Gorham, Tim Hornick, Lonnie Bedwell, and Dan and Nancy Standage. Photo courtesy of Victor Henderson, Blind Endeavors. The second photo is more of an action shot of the group engaged in the march. They are depicted on a dirt trail that appears to be very dry. All are using 2 walking sticks. All of the veterans are visible, but the 2 group guides are blocked either by the camera shot itself or as a result of being behind a larger figure. The photo is further described as follows. Full cadre of Bataan Memorial Marchers. Left to right, Steve Baskus, Lonnie Bedwell, Nancy Standage, Nate Gorham, Dan Standage, and Tim Hornick. At far left, seen only slightly inside the photo, is Kevin Baskus. Photo courtesy of Victor Henderson, Blind Endeavors. The text of the story begins. 5 blinded veteran athletes participated March 19th in the Bataan Memorial Death March, a challenging 26.2-mile full marathon march through high desert terrain in honor of the heroic service members who defended the Philippine Islands during World War II as they sacrificed their freedom, health, and, in many cases, their lives. Steve Baskus, Lonnie Bedwell, Nate Gorham, Tim Hornick, and Dan Standage, all members of BVA, joined a record 7,200 marchers from across the United States and several foreign countries 75 years after the historic march occurred on April 9, 1942. The venue for the event, as it has been since 1992, was the White Sands Missile Range near La Cruces, New Mexico. The athletes were assisted by 3 sighted volunteer guides, Victor Henderson, Kevin Baskus, and Nancy Standage. I was anxious to get the team together and take on the challenge, said Nate Gorham. The event fostered camaraderie among the participants and served as just one more example of what blinded veterans can accomplish, end quote. Participants and their guides met in Las Cruces, where they enjoyed the hospitality and encouragement of local resident blinded veterans, including BVA technology guru Terry Keble and his wife Mary Ellen, who have previously engaged in similar physical and mental challenges. The Kebles hosted the runners in their home. The graciousness of people like Terry and Mary Ellen, along with our trekking poles, decent footwear, and considerable determination, helped us conquer the impending obstacles while supporting veterans everywhere and raising awareness of BVA and its mission, said Nate. United States and Filipino soldiers numbering 75,000 were surrendered to Japanese forces on that fateful April 9th after months of battling extreme climate conditions. The U.S. soldiers represented multiple branches of the military: Army, Army Air Corps, Navy, and Marines. Among those seized were members of the 200th Coast Artillery of the New Mexico National Guard. The captive soldiers were marched for days, approximately 65 miles through the scorching jungles of the Philippines. Approximately 10,000 men, 9,000 Filipinos, and 1,000 Americans died in the march. Those who survived faced the hardships of prisoner-of-war camps and the brutality of their Japanese captors. The POWs would not see freedom until 1945, when U.S. Filipino forces recaptured the lost territory. The Army ROTC Department at New Mexico State University began sponsoring the Bataan Memorial Death March in 1989. The Memorial March was to mark a page in history that included many Native sons and affected several families in the state. In 1992, White Sands Missile Range and the New Mexico National Guard joined in the sponsorship, and the event was moved to the missile range. While it remains primarily a military event, many civilians also participate in the challenging march. Participants may choose between two courses, a 14.2-mile route or the one of 26.2 miles. Marchers such as this year's group of blinded veterans participate in the Bataan Memorial Death March for many reasons: personal challenge, the spirit of competition, or to foster esprit de corps. A team must include exactly 5 persons and only finishes the race if all members finish together, on the principle that one does not leave teammates behind. The race continues all day, with the slowest marchers requiring more than 12 hours to complete the course. March 28th marks 72-year milestone. Blinded veterans and their families across the United States recently helped organize local events in their respective regions to commemorate the 72nd anniversary of BVA's founding on March 28, 1945. The milestone anniversary remembers the approximately 100 young World War II veterans who had lost their sight in combat and gathered in an early morning meeting at Avon Old Farms Army Convalescent Hospital for the purpose of organizing themselves to help one another. Public Law 111-156, enacted in March 2010 by the 111th Congress in both the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate, with 2 separate resolutions, designated March 28th each year going forward as National Blinded Veterans Day in recognition of BVA's efforts to promote the establishment and improvement of rehabilitation services and benefits for America's blinded veterans. For more information, visit https://www.congress.gov/111//PLAWS/PUBL/uppercase PLAW-111 lowercase PUBL 156.pdf. BVA requested the assistance of VA Medical Center directors and blind rehabilitation service staff, VIS coordinators, BROs, and BRC directors in putting together the commemorative activities and events. The Bulletin's press deadline just before March 28th made it impossible to recap such events in this issue. Look for the coverage of BVA's anniversary events in the May-June issue. U.S., U.K. blinded vets unite. Remember World War I. Project Gemini has once again brought together veterans with vision loss from the United States and the United Kingdom. The occasion was an April 2nd through 8th exchange in Washington, D.C. in recognition of the centennial anniversary of World War I. Now in its 6th year and known as Project Gemini for the transatlantic cable that connects the 2 countries and continents, the week of activities in the nation's capital included educational forums, key federal agency site meetings with leaders of such agencies, and visits with U.S. vision rehabilitation experts, eye trauma specialists, researchers, and DoD specialty leadership. The goal of this April exchange was much like the ones we have already experienced in England, said BVA Government Relations Committee Chairman Major Tom Zampieri, retired, an annual coordinator of the exchanges. We hope to learn from one another and share best practices in the area of blind rehabilitation, war eye injury management, and current vision research advances so that our participants can be prepared to share them with officials in their home countries." End quote. Tom also emphasized the importance of the program in fostering mutual respect and understanding between the two allied nations as participants establish new friendships, share knowledge of blind and visually impaired rehabilitation services, and exchange insights and personal experiences regarding their own adjustment to blindness. This year, he says, it happened as blinded veterans recognized the historical significance of World War I and the subsequent beginnings of blind rehabilitation programs. U.S. blinded veteran participants were BVA National President and Vietnam War veteran Dale Stamper of Hayden, Idaho, Gulf War-era veteran Monica Gilmore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Gulf War I and II veteran Brian Corcoran of South Lebanon, Ohio, and Tom himself, a Vietnam-era veteran from Pearland, Texas. Participating from the United Kingdom were Blind Veterans UK President Colin Williamson and Royal Navy veterans Stephen Birkin and Sue Ailes. Alan Walker, an Army veteran who served in the Falkland Islands War in 1982, also made the trip along with Blind Veterans UK Director of Research Dr. Renata Gomes. The program included a visit to the renowned Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda and the National Medical Museum. They met with senior leaders and program directors at the Department of Veterans Affairs on April 6th, the official 100th anniversary of the war. The veterans also visited the British Embassy, Arlington National Cemetery, and various other national memorials. They attended 2 sessions on the topic of World War I vision injuries and blast concussions at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences on April 7th. Travel expenses for the British participants were made possible by an American Embassy London exchange grant related to the centennial commemoration of World War I. Team River Runner supplied local van transportation throughout the week. The American Academy of Ophthalmology has also supported Project Gemini through a grant to BVA's Operation Peer Support Program, which provides a pool from which Project Gemini participants are selected. Retired Army Ranger and Police Officer Joe Ammerling traveled to Washington from Georgia at his own expense to serve as a volunteer sighted guide for the group. Ammerling provided a similar service last year during Project Gemini's stay in Chicago. He enlisted the involvement of the Montgomery County, Maryland Police during the week. BVA and Blind Veterans UK together established Project Gemini in May 2011. Each year, 4 U.S. blinded veterans are hosted at the Blind Veterans UK facility in Brighton, England, with 4 of their counterparts in the UK. Project Gemini seeks to raise public awareness of the issues facing war veterans with vision loss and help them individually to discover opportunities for their lives after blindness. The vital relationship BVA has developed with Blind Veterans UK has blossomed to the point that our activities and opportunities continue to broaden and multiply, said Tom. Our week in D.C. was one more such opportunity to share knowledge and experience about blind rehabilitation services, vision trauma care, blast concussions, and research as we strengthen our relationship with veterans from the United Kingdom." End quote. Blind Veterans UK is a national charity, now 102 years of age, working on behalf of visually impaired ex-servicemen. Tracing its founding back to 1915 during World War I, the organization now offers free and comprehensive support to all UK blinded veterans. For additional information, visit blindveterans.org.uk. Additional highlights and stories surrounding the Project Gemini Week in the nation's capital will be presented in the May-June issue of the Bulletin. Gorham Hornick Shine at Marathon. Blinded veterans were once again represented in the visually impaired division of the California International Marathon, CIM, last December 3rd in Sacramento, California. Participants in the race were Timothy Hornick of Lawrence, Kansas, Heartland Regional Group, and Nate Gorham of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, Florida Regional Group. The event serves as the United States Association of Blind Athletes, USABA, National Marathon Championships, and also welcomes international participants, youth, novice marathoners, and relay participants. It was BVA member Richard Hunter, Northern California Regional Group, who founded the visually impaired division of the event in 2007. Hoping for a category similar to that of the Boston Marathon, Richard first ran in CIM with a small group of friends and family. What started out with 2 runners and only a dream has blossomed into more than 40 runners from around the world, nearly 70 sighted guides and volunteers, and the realization of countless dreams similar to Richard's, said Tim Hornick. Tim and Nate have proposed a challenge to the BVA membership to help establish the first ever 65 years and older marathon relay team for the 2017 CIM. The course will be divided into 4 equal sections so that each individual running will be responsible for 6 to 8 miles. If you feel you can compete with your fellow blinded veterans on a relay team, please contact Tim at timothy.hornick, Hornik, @gmail.com, or Stuart Nelson at snelson@bva.org. In the meantime, Nate and Tim have recounted for bulletin readers, especially prospective runners, their impressions and memories of CIM. Nate's reflections. I had a truly wonderful time participating with USABA in CIM. It was, no doubt, the planning and coordination that went into this event that made it such an awesome experience. From the moment I stepped off the plane in Sacramento, where I was greeted by a volunteer, until being escorted to my gate to fly home, everything went smoothly. I just can't offer up enough praise. I was able to tour the city, explore the race expo, eat some great meals, and meet other blind athletes. There was so much inspiration at the event that it was impossible to want to do anything less than give the race my best. My running guides were 2 of the most supportive folks I have ever met. I cannot thank them enough and have made plans to run with both again in the future. I am very grateful for this experience. It has motivated me to keep running. Fitness should be an important part of every person's life, and not even blindness should hold you back. Running CIM with USABA really could change your life. Tim's impressions. Participation in USABA's national championships at CIM serves as a personal highlight and something I longingly look forward to each year. During my military career, running enabled my platoons to create our bond of brotherhood by presenting a fun way to challenge and support one another. I would often offer a challenge to any of my soldiers by promising that wings and beer would be on me for whoever beat me on our Friday runs. Unfortunately, blindness halted my ability to run. For roughly a decade after going blind in Iraq, I lost this part of my life. The tables turned a little in 2015 when Richard Hunter presented me with an opportunity to run again as part of a blinded veteran relay team at CIM. I give Richard credit for helping me restore my ability to run. After completing our leg of the 2015 race, my guide and I established a new goal: run a half marathon in 2016 at CIM. Establishing this goal inspired me to embrace not only our running but other forms of physical activities, such as cycling, to finish that half marathon. Thus, I set various daily goals to run or cycle each day and to participate in various other events throughout the year, including a 10-kilometer run. The results of my activities include an increase in my morale, a decrease in 10 pounds of insulation, motivation to create other adaptive sports goals, connection to my community through sighted guides, and a desire to establish a new goal for 2017. New media site launched. The Blinded Veterans Association has launched blog.bvamedia.net as part of a national initiative to increase awareness among veterans and the general public about the organization itself and to empower and instill hope in blinded veterans during their personal quests to meet the challenges of vision loss. The content of the blog emphasizes the services and benefits available to veterans through federal and local entities, communicated through personal success stories about BVA members and their families, information about current and pending legislation, and calendar items of upcoming BVA events. A highlight of the new site is a previously untapped opportunity to produce podcasts, share BVA's existing public relations efforts more effectively with its members, and utilize other digital communication methods in disseminating such news. Throughout BVA's 72-year history, the ability to communicate with the blinded veteran community was at first limited to written communication and audio through phonographic records and audio cassettes sometime later. The Internet has dramatically increased the number of accessible and inexpensive methods for individuals to interact and share information. Having already embraced social media such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, BVA formed an internal public relations committee in August 2016 in an effort to expand communication efforts through podcasts and streaming Internet radio channels. The launch of blog.bvamedia.net is among the first in a series of actions that have become part of the initiative. To reach the new site, go directly to blog.bvamedia.net or link to it via bva.org. BVA saddened by Roy Young passing. A photo accompanies this brief tribute to Roy Young. He is shown accepting 2 different plaques from the national president at the time, Dr. Norman Jones, Jr. While the picture of Roy is a straight-on shot, Norman is turned to the side with head tilted slightly downward. Both are attired in suits and ties, with Norman also wearing a BVA service cap. The caption eulogizes Roy as follows. Once he had located his own needed support from BVA, Roy Young embodied the BVA motto, Blinded Veterans Helping Blinded Veterans, as he served his fellow veterans both locally and nationally. Roy, left, is pictured here in 2008 at the 63rd National Convention in Phoenix as he simultaneously receives both Moss and Diener Awards from then National President Dr. Norman Jones, Jr. The article begins as follows. BVA members across the country were saddened to learn of the passing of their friend and fellow blinded veteran Roy Young on February 19th following an extended illness. Roy was a former BVA National Treasurer, Director of District 6, and Greater Houston Regional Group President. A Vietnam-era veteran with vision loss due to both diabetes and the advanced stages of glaucoma, Roy became a member of the National Board of Directors in 2008 at the 63rd National Convention in Phoenix, Arizona, having been appointed first as an interim district director and then being elected by the blinded veterans of District 6. At the same convention, he was awarded both the Melvin J. Moss Award for Professional Achievement and the Irving Diener Award, the only blinded veteran in BVA history to receive both awards at the same time. Roy served on the board for 5 years until stepping down for health reasons in 2013. In 2012, under the direction of Roy and his wife, Annette, the Greater Houston Regional Group organized many of the activities associated with the 67th National Convention in the city of Galveston, Texas. Roy also helped generate much of the enthusiasm among the BVA membership to hold the convention in Galveston. Prior to his service nationally and as president of his regional group, Roy fulfilled a number of other regional group and volunteer responsibilities. As a new member of the group, he told his fellow blinded veterans that he had made a promise both to himself and to God that he would forever make himself available to serve his fellow blinded veterans no matter the cost. Roy was known for his almost unlimited energy, dedication, and creativity in organizing local activities in the Houston area that brought a positive image and extensive media coverage for BVA. He made a special effort to reach out to recently blinded veterans from Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan. Tail gunners and pilots again sought for Viper. A photo of last year's Viper ride accompanies the brief blurb about the upcoming event. The image, a somewhat shadowy one, reveals 5 individuals, 3 women and 2 men, standing together behind a sign that says, "Welcome to the Viper Ride." Also part of the sign is the website URL, www.theviperride.org, and a logo that features a motorcycle, 2 riders, and again the words, "The Viper Ride." A roofed pavilion is seen in the background. The caption states, "The Viper Ride, now in its 2nd year, offers a day of motorcycling, socializing, food, and entertainment to blinded veterans from Wisconsin and across the country. Last year, more than a dozen attendees of the nearby BVA 71st National Convention participated in the event, including tail gunners Kenny Adams and Claudia Belk, pictured with white canes." News about the upcoming Viper Ride is presented as follows. BVA of Wisconsin Regional Group President John Carter is launching plans for a 2nd annual motorcycle Ride to Remember for up to 75 blinded and low-vision veterans. The ride will occur in Milwaukee August 20th. Organized and carried out by the nonprofit Visually Impaired Patriots Experiencing the Road, Incorporated, or VIPER, established in late 2015, the journey will originate at a starting and ending point to be determined and announced later. Last year's ride coincided with the BVA's 71st National Convention in downtown Milwaukee. Veterans from 15 states participated. VIPER was created with hopes of providing an annual opportunity for veterans to experience that same freedom and excitement of the road. The ride will again be provided to the tail gunners, the term used for a VIPER passenger on a motorcycle, trike, or sidecar rig operated by a fully qualified, licensed, and insured driver called a VIPER pilot. Some 100 to 150 volunteers, referred to as the ground crew, will be available to provide other services, assistance, and support during the day. The entourage will travel on some of the premier biking roads in southeastern Wisconsin. John reiterated that the tail gunners themselves must be military veterans who are blind, visually impaired, or who receive low vision services at a VA facility. BVA membership is not a requirement. For more information and application materials, visit www.theviperride.org, call 414-525-9005, or email info@theviperride.org. Although it is a pre-registration event, there is no cost to the veteran for the ride, lunch, or entertainment. Business owners sought. BVA National Headquarters continues to search for blinded veterans who are owners of small businesses to connect them with one another and to highlight their stories and accomplishments through a variety of media. We hope to find examples of successful businesses so that other veterans become interested in starting their own enterprises, said project manager Christina Hitchcock. Additionally, we would also like to maintain a list of businesses so that we can facilitate a connection when we are contacted by individuals or companies seeking services from veteran-owned and veteran-operated companies." End quote. No business is too big or too small to be included on the list, according to Christina. Please call her at 202-371-8880, extension 303, or send a message to chitchcock@bva.org. Membership Coordinator requests information. Blinded veterans and their families who become aware of the relocation or passing of a fellow BVA member are advised to notify Membership Coordinator Cecilia Montenegro, CMONTENEGRO @bva.org, at BVA National Headquarters as soon as possible following the change in status. Officers of regional groups are asked to do the same whenever they come across similar information in speaking with BVA members or in searching for individual veterans. Spouses of deceased blinded veterans may, upon request, continue receiving by postal mail the hard copy print version of the bulletin. Please contact Cecilia or Stuart Nelson, snelson @bva.org, with the request. BVA members are encouraged to read the bulletin employing the formats most convenient for them. There are 6 options. 1. Hard copy print version mailed to the member's home, also available to non-members. 2. Professionally recorded CD with photo descriptions mailed to the member's home. Membership is required. 3. The same recording presented on YouTube. 4. HTML accessible text on the BVA website. 5. Emailed Word document containing the complete contents, including descriptions of photos and graphics. And 6. Emailed PDF document identical to the hard copy print version. Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan. Pam's Auxiliaries View column also comes accompanied by a small head and shoulders photo. Pam is wearing an elegant dress. She is smiling broadly in the photo. There is no caption. The text of the Auxiliaries View reads as follows. On behalf of the BVA National Officers, I extend springtime greetings to our family members, friends, and caregivers of blinded veterans everywhere. We have now sprung ahead by 1 hour, and it is time to put some spring into our steps. We can now get busy with what we have been unable to accomplish over the winter. It is time to get out and engage ourselves in the activities that will make life more fulfilling for others, especially our beloved veterans. One idea for a spring activity with spouses is participation in a walk-run event for a cause other than our own. Last year, the Columbus chapter of BVA's Georgia Regional Group, along with its auxiliary group, joined many other volunteers in the March of Dimes March for Babies in the city's Cooper Creek Park. Engaging in activities like the Columbus March is not only a great way to exercise and stay in shape, but it also means to make our presence known in the community as we meet, interact, and network with other participating groups. Aided by the uniqueness of a white cane and sighted guides, our blinded veterans are often noticed quickly when they do things that some think should be impossible for them. We can often educate others and perform some type of service for them as we benefit at the same time ourselves. Becoming engaged with others can result in a total win-win verdict for all concerned. It is the time of year once again to be thinking about the BVAA scholarships for the spouses and children of blinded veterans. For the 34th year, we will be providing scholarships to worthy recipients. This year, 2 $2,000 scholarships and 1 $1,000 scholarship. The applications and additional details for these awards are available on our auxiliary website, www.nbvaaux.org. At the time of publication and delivery of the March-April Bulletin, we will be about 4 months away from the BVA 72nd National Convention in very warm Jacksonville, Florida. 4 months is certainly not too early to start thinking about that trip and all it entails. Get your room reservations, get your flights, or your road trips planned, and put together those fabulous silent auction donations. We can't wait to see you there. Many of you may not be aware that 2017 is also the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Blinded Veterans Association Auxiliary. This is yet one more milestone that we can celebrate and enjoy at the convention. In the November-December 1976 BVA Bulletin, Renee Feldman wrote that on November 19th of that same year, the BVA Executive Committee, acting on behalf of the Board of Directors, sanctioned the organizational process to create a BVA Auxiliary, BVAA. Renee called for written suggestions for guidelines that would help govern the various auxiliary regional groups to be sent to her immediately. The responses received resulted in the official establishment of BVAA, which was up and running before the 32nd National Convention in Washington, D.C. Happenings in District 1 by Dennis O'Connell. Providing a report for District 1 would be much easier if I could share material not already reported in the previous issue of the Bulletin. Although I was beaten to the punch and my thunder was stolen, perhaps I can briefly recap the events again while emphasizing a couple of related points. Our New York regional group participated in the Veterans Day Parade last November. It was a wonderful experience for several of our members and an honor to be included now for many years in what has come to be known as America's Parade, organized by the United War Veterans Council, Incorporated, UWVC. BVA members who attend conventions regularly know Enrique Sanchez. Over the years, Enrique has done an outstanding job of arranging and ensuring the participation of our New York Regional Group veterans in America's Parade. Despite all of his dedication, Enrique still credits our participation to James Lanham, UWVC's support and registration official. Enrique informed both me and Stuart Nelson that Mr. Lanham was extraordinarily accommodating and welcoming to our veterans. He has treated us such that we feel wanted in the parade and appreciated for participating. On another note, a fabulous Syracuse VA support group party was planned for early December. This event was also reported in our last bulletin at the end of a letter to the editor from James Corcoran, who commented favorably on the food that was prepared on a day that an enormous blizzard hit the Syracuse region. The party planners were World War II veteran Joe Martone and his son Ralph, two stellar, gracious gentlemen who have faithfully attended recent BVA national conventions together. Expressing sincere appreciation for support and help is an important virtue and perhaps a lost art in the 21st century. This forum allows me to express my own gratitude to the likes of Enrique Sanchez, James Lanham, and James Corcoran, and Joe and Ralph Martone. On still another note, our last bulletin mentioned the recent district realignments, bringing New Jersey and Pennsylvania into District 1 and transferring out Michigan and Puerto Rico. If you are now in District 1 and have not already done so, please send your email address to both Cecilia Montenegro, CMONTENEGRO at bva.org, and to me, Navy 1 Vet, that's NAVY numeral 1 VET, at optonline.net to receive legislative updates and general BVA updates. My final news item, a most positive one, is that remodeling of the Blind Center at West Haven, originally scheduled for last December, will finally be completed by September. Please share interesting stories with your respective district directors so that in the future they will have fresh stories and breaking news to share with the BVA membership nationally. From the field staff by Ed Eckroth. A thumbnail photo of Ed also accompanies the field service column for this issue. It is a headshot taken at a slight angle with a very small portion of a U.S. flag in the background. Ed is seen wearing dark glasses. There is no photo caption. The content of Ed's column begins. BVA initiatives continue to bring positive change for blinded veterans within VA's Veterans Health and Benefits Administrations. There are three in particular that are worthy of mention at present. First, the association has been working with VA for the past 4 years to bring Section 504 and Section 508 compliance to the forefront. Section 504 of the National Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities, while Section 508 is a federal law mandating that all electronic and information technology developed, procured, maintained, or used by the federal government be accessible to people with disabilities. BVA has escalated its efforts and challenged VA in its failure to comply with federal law. A second issue of relevance is BVA's focus on VA's failure to properly notify visually impaired veterans of their claim rights. BVA pointed out as early as 2006 that the VA M-21 manual recognizes that visually impaired veterans require special notification to explain claims decisions. The Veterans Court of Appeals, per Clark v. Nicholson, 21 Vet App 130,133, 2007, stated that if a VA regional office, VARO, decides a claim but fails to notify the claimant of the decision, the claim remains legally open, even if the VARO clears the corresponding end product. The U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California in 2009 cited the Social Security Administration for Section 504 noncompliance for not providing proper notification. BVA therefore contends that VA is responsible to reopen any case and pay retroactive benefits to the date of the original claim if it did not meet the duty to assist requirements and call and explain the claim decision and appeal rights. If you received a VA decision and you were not called and notified of your rights, you may be eligible to reopen your claim for an earlier effective date. A third area in which BVA has helped bring about recent positive change is in the area of VA travel benefits. Under new federal regulations, travel is provided to any veteran with vision impairment, spinal cord injury or disorder, or double or multiple amputations if the travel is in connection with care provided through a special disabilities rehabilitation program of VA. This is true if such care is provided on an inpatient basis or during a period in which VA provides the veteran with temporary lodging at one of its facilities to make such care more accessible to the veteran. If you were unable to attend a VA BRC in the past, or it has been considerable time since you have done so, these are welcome changes. We encourage you to see your VIST coordinator about the possibility of going for the first time or of receiving refresher training. While these new regulations open travel to BRCs, we also recognize that there are many veterans who struggle with transportation to get to VA medical centers for basic care. BVA continues to advocate for better travel options for blind veterans. BVA has also found many veterans who are eligible for travel benefits, but who were not aware of such eligibility. While some facilities may not be providing door-to-door service, you are eligible for travel reimbursement to your VA medical facility for care if you meet the requirements below. If a family member or friend drives you to an appointment, VA should reimburse the driver using a per-mile rate. When it is determined that travel via a privately owned vehicle is not reasonably accessible, or when travel by the most economical common carrier, bus, train, taxi, airplane, etc., is determined to be medically necessary, full reimbursement of the actual cost should be provided. Veterans should be aware that there is a deductible for beneficiary travel of $3 per one-way trip and $6 for a round trip. The deductible requirement is subject to a monthly maximum amount of $18 and may be waived for veterans based on income threshold. Veterans meeting any of the following criteria and desiring to travel should speak with the VA travel department in their facility. If they are denied travel improperly, BVA can assist. The criteria are: any veteran traveling to VA for a compensation and pension exam for a claim. Any veteran service-connected 0 to 20% is entitled to travel for treatment for the service-connected treatment only. Any veteran service-connected 30% or more is entitled to travel for all treatment. Non-service-connected veterans with an annual household income less than $12,907. Non-service-connected veterans who are married or who have a dependent and have an annual household income of less than $16,902. Non-service-connected veterans with vision of 5/200 or worse, or who are determined to be in need of aid and attendance with an annual income of less than $21,531. Non-service-connected veterans with vision of 5/200 or worse, or who are determined to be in need of aid and attendance and who are married or have a dependent and have an annual income of less than $25,525. Any veteran with vision impairment, or a veteran with a spinal cord injury or disorder, or a veteran with double or multiple amputations whose travel is in connection with care provided through a special disabilities rehabilitation program of the Department, including programs provided by spinal cord injury centers, BRCs, and prosthetics rehabilitation centers, if such care is provided on an inpatient basis or during a period in which the Secretary provides the veteran with temporary lodging at a VA facility to make such care more accessible to the veteran. These three noteworthy changes within VA are responses to the concerns voiced by our membership and leadership over extended periods of time. They have not taken place overnight and have required patience and perseverance. We will continue to carefully monitor progress in these areas and the many others that impact the welfare and quality of life of veterans with vision loss. In remembrance, Space Available has permitted a photo to be placed on the In Remembrance page that lists blinded veterans who have recently passed away or of whose passing BVA has recently learned. The photo, provided in color, reveals a large shrub garden patterned with full or partial circles of shrubs. A full circle of shrubbery with a statue of two human figures is seen in the middle of the image. The photo is mostly in green, a very lush green at that. A cobblestone walkway would allow visitors to roam the garden and obtain a close glimpse of the statue. The caption states, "The Kummer Museum of Art and Gardens has a chronological collection of the history of art and aesthetics, especially in Europe and America. It is one of the most visited museums of the Southeast." Photo courtesy of Jacksonville and the Beaches. The written portion of In Remembrance begins with the following. The Blinded Veterans Association deeply regrets the passing of the following blinded veterans. From the Cape Cod and the Islands Regional Group, Walter Clifford Fisher, Lawrence D. Murphy. From the Central California Regional Group, Juan B. Roybal. Florida Regional Group, Howard Alex Coleman, Ross Edward Curtis, William E. Rice, James M. Taylor, Ernest Villano, Garfield White. Gem State Idaho Regional Group, Albert Ott. From the Georgia Regional Group, Hugh V. James, Wilbur Lowe, Thomas Murphy. Greater Houston Group, Melvin Nesmith, Shirley Stringfield, Roy E. Young. Heartland Regional Group, Bob E. Lewis. Illinois Regional Group, Charles Marovitz. Louisiana Group, Charles Bogutsky, Gerald Dubois. Massachusetts Group, Richard A. Bouchard, William G. Bowman. Michigan Regional Group, Donnell J. Green. Mid-Atlantic Group, Edward F. Johnson, Pearl Z. Tobias. From the Minnesota Regional Group, Wilford A. Home. From Mississippi, Felix Davis. From the New Hampshire group, June Marie Danku, Donald Keene, Eugene F. Marcoux. New Jersey Regional Group, Joseph D. Cadigan. New Mexico Regional Group, Barbara Archer. New York Group, Franklin R. Lanzner, Joseph E. McVeigh, Dominique A. Peluso. North Carolina Regional Group, Paul B. Baker, Donald McEvers. Northern California Group, Merle D. Decker. Ohio Group, George Reynolds. From the Puerto Rico Regional Group, Rafael Blasini Rodriguez. Frocan E. Ramos Salcedo. San Diego Regional Group, J. A. Lynn, Frank J. Scarcella. Southern California Regional Group, Orville Miller. Tennessee Regional Group, L. B. Husky. And from the Washington Regional Group, Harold D. Bowman, Manuel J. Rodriguez. Final thought. This issue's final thought features a photo of two current members of the BVA National Board of Directors, one seated and one standing behind the other. Both are dressed in formal business attire, including BVA cap and formal name badge. The two display faint smiles. Immediately in front of the seated gentleman sits a Braille writer, a microphone, and a water bottle. Further in front is a placard that contains the name Mr. Stamper on one line and Blinded Veterans Association as the line below. The final thought is further detailed as follows. Presenting oral testimony to the House and Senate Committees on Veterans Affairs could be viewed as an opportunity of a lifetime, or the experience could, for another, be intimidating and something from which to shy away. In addition to the face-to-face contact with prominent members of Congress, not to mention the often large group of spectators in back, the hearings are also now streamed live for viewing worldwide. Immediate past National President Mark Cornell, standing, delivered BVA's testimony in 2014 and 2015. He is pictured behind a seemingly calm, cool, and relaxed Dale Stamper just minutes before Dale's oral remarks on March 22nd on behalf of America's blinded veterans. And this marks the conclusion of the reading of the March-April 2017 issue of the BVA Bulletin. BVA Bulletin. BVA Bulletin. BVA Bulletin. BVA Bulletin.